I firmly believe that skills learned in one fighting game can carry over to others, as long as you make the correct connections and understand the similarities. As someone that's played both Street Fighter and Guilty Gear at a pro level, I wanted to share some tips to transition from one game to another. So in this video, we're going to discuss these similarities and differences in order to learn these games effectively. Let's start with neutral. So thankfully, I think Street Fighter 6 is probably the most similar game to anime games out of the Street Fighter series. And there's a lot that you can take from Guilty Gear or skills that you learned in any other anime and apply it to Street Fighter. Because obviously neutral in Street Fighter is going to be a lot slower paced. It's going to be a lot more deliberate. In Guilty Gear or like anime games, a lot of times you can just kind of like toss coins at people or throw different options at people and see if they stick. And you can kind of do that in Street Fighter, but you have to be a lot more deliberate. And I think generally it has to be a lot more reaction based. Take for example anti-airing. So in Street Fighter, anti-airing is quite easy, right? You can either do like a crouch heavy punch anti-air or some other type of normal anti-air depending on your character, or a lot of characters have like a anti-air move. Let's take for example air dashing in Guilty Gear, right? Air dash is a very high committal option, but you need to instant air dash sometimes because it's really effective at beating certain moves, right? Let's say Kai's fireball, because you can air dash over the fireball, and if you land that air dash, it does a lot of damage, right? And I like to think of jumps the same way in Street Fighter as air dash, because you don't want to just randomly jump at the opponent because it's very easy to anti-air and you're gonna have a very bad time. So jump, for example, is very good at, like, you know, being like a fireball. If you have a read, you can't really do it on reaction, just like against Kai fireball, you can't really jump it on reaction. But it's also really good at beating some other stuff. For example, Nago 5H. Usually this is like prediction, not just kind of like throwing out, but then you can get a combo and you get a full punish, right? So if I could say anything, is just like an air dash, you want to be very deliberate with your jump normals, right? The other thing is people can bait anti-airs. So for example, Kimberly can do this. So just like how your 6P can be baited, you have to be really aware of like the characters you can 6P against, or in this case 2H or DP, and the characters you can't 6P against, and you have to be a little more patient. So in Guilty Gear, you have patient play and you have aggressive play. And oftentimes in Guilty Gear, you can be very aggressive because a lot of your moves are pretty hard to deal with. Take for example Bridget. It's really hard to stop her from throwing out a full screen yo-yo or a full screen scooter. Now in this game, if I try to do a full screen move, it's really unsafe, right? Which means that you're gonna be playing more patient. That being said, you can still play it pretty aggressive, right? Because there are some ways to punish patient gameplay. And in my opinion, one of the most effective is drive rush. So if you can do instant drive rush, right, you can just basically dash in their face and you're plus. It's very hard to react to, especially if you're doing a jab. So if I could give any advice to Guilty Gear players trying to play neutral, is one, be a little bit more patient. Try to look out for, you know, try to react to more stuff like 2H, try to react with drive impact if they drive impact. Use your fundamentals from Guilty Gear. Guilty Gear is a very active game. Try to find ways to punish the patient gameplay from your opponent, whether it's doing drive rush or playing a faster character like Kimberly that could do stuff like slide, overhead low. You'll find a lot more success in neutral. Offense and defense differ a little bit, right? The main difference between Guilty Gear and Street Fighter is that throws are way scarier. So if you've ever been trying to throw someone in Guilty Gear, it's really scary, right? Because they can backdash and they can get a full punish. They can jump and get a full punish on you. They can mash and there's throw protection in Guilty Gear. They can get a full punish on you. Well, in Street Fighter, that literally can't happen. The opponent's set to wake up mash on wake up, and you can just throw them right out, right? But if they try to jump, you get easy anti-air. And backdash, generally, you're not really backdashing in this game. Backdash is not very effective, right? So you might be thinking, wow, if throws are better, offense must be like insanely cracked, which is not true, right? Because I think in general, blocking in Guilty Gear is way worse because there's uncharged dust, characters have tons of mix-ups in their block string, where in Street Fighter, it's literally just straight throw. It's like you're playing against Giovanna that can't reset pressure very effectively, right? Unlike Guilty Gear, where everything is generally plus, or it can like Gatling into like a delay Gatling or a delay special. In this game, it's like after you do a couple jabs, you can either special cancel, which may or may not be safe, then your turn's basically over unless you spend like EX bar or you do like something like drive rush, right? So most normals on block in this game are minus, which means you could take your turn more effectively, which means that blocking in Street Fighter is in general better, and throw is a lot scarier. A lot of people don't really throw tech, but in this game you have to throw tech because that's one of the ways you can escape throws, as opposed to Guilty Gear where you could just do anything to be a throw. The wake up throw in Guilty Gear is 2 frames, so it's pretty good because like people can drop their meaties. Now in Street Fighter it's 5 frames, so doing wake up grab is not really the best. It's usually like a hard call out if they think you're gonna be the DP, but generally you're not doing wake up grab. So what you're doing is a delay grab, just like in Guilty Gear. So I'll set the dummy to throw and then do another throw, and then I'll set them throw and then strike, right? So I'm gonna do the same option against both. I'm just gonna do delay grab. So I did delay grab and it beats both options. The shimmy beats this, so I'm gonna do my delay tech again and I get punished for it, right? And that's a lot of damage coming from you. I could have just died from that. The one skill that, I mean, some people in Guilty Gear players might know, and you've probably, I do this, like some characters with more basic mix-up, like Kai and Geo players will do this, where they'll like run up to you in FD and they'll like back off and they'll catch a tech whiff. In this game, it's so much better because they're forced to tech in this game as opposed to Guilty Gear. Punishing that tech is one of the most important things you can do on offense in Street Fighter. So I'm gonna set the dummy to wake up throw. And you see how they tech there, right? So how do you punish this tech? Basically walk forward a little bit, then walk back, and you'll see the grab whiff. And then you can punish with your normal choice. I mean, generally, you're not reacting to the throw to press the button. You're just pressing the button at the time that you know they'll throw, because again, the tech window, just like Guilty Gear, it's pretty small. And so this is your first shimmy, and then as you can imagine, the damage off of a shimmy is a lot higher than just taking the throw. Generally, it's like at least double. So don't be afraid to take the throw, especially because blocking is so strong. Now, I asked some Guilty Gear players what they had trouble with transitioning from Guilty Gear and Street Fighter, and here are the main responses. The first thing was linking in combos. I mean, you don't really have links in Guilty Gear because everything just chains, right? In this game, you have to have a lot more timing behind your buttons. So doing something like a crouch media punch to stand media punch, you can't mash it out, because if you mash it out, I mean, yeah, it'll work sometimes, but eventually it won't work. So you have to have timing. But I can give you a few tips, and obviously the first one is don't mash. Just learn the timing after everything. A lot of characters have very similar timings on their links. Pretty much all medium punches have like the same block stun and hit stun, so you can just kind of time it and you'll get the timing generally. So for example, like after something like this, it's going to be very, very hard to hit confirm this crouch medium punch, right? You can do it, and I do it in my matches, but if you're just starting out, like especially after like the stand heavy kick, don't like try to react to the situation, just dial it in, because it's the same timing on hit or block. All right, so the second thing is hit confirming is a lot harder. So in Guilty Gear, you can like do a button and then you can cancel it super late. But in this game, it just won't come out, right? And that's fine. It's a little weird to get used to, but don't think that you can hit confirm things. So like, for example, this crouch medium punch is not hit confirmable into a special cancel, right? If I put the dummy to random guard, I can't do it. And no pro player can. But at the same time, you need to be able to hit confirm. Your hit confirms have to be a lot quicker in this game. So for example, something like this crouch medium kick, I can hit confirm whether it hits and then go into a combo. And if it's block, I can go for like a mix up, like a throw. That's something that every person should be able to do. So it's really important to realize what you can hit confirm and what you can't hit confirm, because some things, they look like hit confirms, but they actually aren't. How do you verify if something is hit confirmable? Turn on random block and see if you can hit confirm it, right? See, like this, obviously 2 jabs is hit confirmable, right? And the other thing that I find a lot of people are having trouble getting used to going from Guilty Gear Street Fighter is the movement, right? There's no dash macro. You can't just dash around. I mean, you can't air dash. You don't have like ways to alter your jump. And that is probably the biggest change. I can't really give advice around other than you just got to get used to playing more patient, right? All right, so just a few other general tips I think might help Guilty Gear players. In Guilty Gear, there's the meta of round start, right? So you need to know what buttons impact other buttons. You need to like kind of flesh out a game plan from there. In this game, this is where you start round start, right? It's not really something you have to deal with, but you still can kind of play the round start game, right? For example, round start, I can do drive impact, or I can throw a fireball, or I can jump because I think they're going to throw a fireball. There's still that meta, so make sure you still focus on round start. But again, passiveness is going to be pretty effective round start as well, because you're a lot further. The second tip I give the new Guilty Gear players is, if you're a brand new Guilty Gear player, how many times have you got hit by charge charge dust, right? And one of the big differentiators between like floor 8, 9, 10 gameplay and celestial gameplay is no one's ever getting hit by a charge dust. It's not quite the same in this game, but drive impact is very, very similar. And as opposed to blocking a charge dust, if you correctly respond to drive impact, which is just doing another drive impact, you can literally win the game off that, right? It's super, super risky to do. That being said, it takes time to train up that reaction, right? Another thing I'd recommend is make sure you have it bound to a button. I have drive impact bound to L1. The quicker you can react, the better time you're gonna have. All right, any questions? Guilty Gear to Street Fighter questions, guys, before we end the video. Fuzzy mash or fuzzy jump useful in Street Fighter? Fuzzy jump, not really, right? Because you can't really punish anything with it. I would say fuzzy jump is pretty useful in the corner because if you're just trying to jump out, let's say they're trying to shimmy you, you can fuzzy jump out and then beat the shimmy. Fuzzy mash is pretty good. I like fuzzy mash jab a lot because beat strike because you just block. And let's say they try to shimmy you, this will also prevent the shimmy. All right, any other questions? Guilty Gear Street Fighter. There's no burst in this game. Come on. Can you backdash pressure? Generally, no. I wouldn't recommend doing backdash much other than like a spacing thing. When you use drive reversal, okay, so think of drive reversal as Y or C, but worse. I don't know what to say. Yeah, drive reversal is not that great in my opinion. The pressure on block is not that effective, right? So imagine in Guilty Gear, if you did Y or C against like a Kai player that's ending their pressure, right? There's no point. You do Y or C against like really mix-up happy characters. If you are gonna do drive reversal, do it against like someone that has a very threatening mix-up because most of the cast does not have that threatening mix-up and usually your meter is spent in better places. Being out of meter in Street Fighter is even worse than being out of meter in Guilty Gear. You really want to make sure not to put yourself in that burnout state. So let's do a TLDR. TLDR the whole video, right? Neutral, you have to play it more patiently. Preemptive moves are less effective because they can be more easily countered and they're less rewarding. So you have to play more patiently. That being said, you can still play preemptively. You just have to condition them to be patient and then you can start doing stuff like drive rush in. Mental stack in Street Fighter is probably higher than Guilty Gear because there's so many different options that you have to react to. Where usually in Guilty Gear, it's like there's like a couple things you're looking out for, or like you can counter things very similar because you're just being preemptive. So because there's so much stuff to react for, sometimes you can get away with jumps or drive impacts when you know the opponent's not looking for it, right? And then once you're in, blocking is very, very strong because these jabs are minus, this is minus, this is minus. The on block pressure is not as strong in Guilty Gear, so you're very incentivized to block. And you're also incentivized to tech. And in order to be a throw tech, you just do a shimmy, you walk forward, you walk back, and then you press a button. And then the things you might have trouble with, links and hit confirms, you gotta get used to. I think that's pretty much it. Yeah. So more patience, more options to be aware of, and blocking is better. And throwing is better too. As someone that's learning Street Fighter as well, I hope this guide helped you. I know it's kind of hard to draw a parallel between the two games, but I think that you shouldn't let your skills in one game go to waste in another because there's a lot of carryover. And I think as a Guilty Gear player or someone else that's played other anime games, you can learn Street Fighter more effectively. Or if you're watching this to learn Guilty Gear more effectively as a Street Fighter player, I think there's a lot you can carry over as well. Anyways, like, share, and subscribe if you want to see more content like this. We're trying to get to 50K, so please help out the channel. Thanks for watching. I'll take care, and I'll see you all next time. Oh, and comments down below any other tips you guys have for other players. Peace.